Welcome back to the F1 Ramble, and I just wanted to give you a quick update on what is going on for this weekend. So it's the first race, obviously, back after the summer break. So I think we're all excited to see Formula One back on the calendar. Hopefully, Lewis Hamilton has had time to recover from whatever he was going to go through over the summer. He said he was going to be crying and playing board games. So hopefully he's managed to do both of those things in equal measures. So what's going on for this Grand Prix? Well, I like the Dutch Grand Prix. It's only been around for a few years in its current format. It has been around before. And it's actually going to be the penultimate race. Put my teeth back in. So next year is the last race of the Dutch Grand Prix. So I think it's quite an exciting track. It's got banked corners. It's pretty fast. It's quite high downforce, so it should be interesting to see how the teams adapt to this one. And speaking of adaptation, one of the things I was just having a quick browse around sort of news stories this week for this Grand Prix. And it seems to be the case that basically only Red Bull is the team bringing any upgrades to this particular Grand Prix. So they're updating the front wing, apparently, probably to deal with the downforce question I was mentioning. And as far as I can understand, it's actually going to be the last upgrades that Red Bull do for the 2025 season. So, they're starting to focus now on what appears to be potentially not a very good car for next year, but we'll see. I think it's too early to say. And so they're bringing a minor upgrade. It appears that none of the other teams are bringing any upgrades for this race, and I do wonder actually if any team's now going to make any more significant upgrades going into the second half of the season. It's pretty clear who's going to win the championship. It's going to be Piastri or Norris. I think you'd be a brave person to bet against either of those two. And it's definitely apparent that McLaren are going to win the constructors. So at some point the teams have to make a balanced decision about, is it worth investing more in this car for this year, or should we start focusing now really all of our attention on next year? Because as you can probably imagine, it's a huge job. It's a mammoth job to do that design and build for any season, let alone a season where there's new regulations in play. So and I think we saw this with Mercedes actually going into the last season of the season before they changed the cars as well. So and who else is going to bother? I mean, Ferrari, they're not at the horses. Unfortunately, they're not going to win the championship. Neither of the drivers are going to win the individual championship either. So that's for the birds. I think that probably it's unlikely that Red Bull are going to pull this one out of the bag. You never know. I mean, the only way I can see it happening is if there's some kind of implosion from McLaren. If Piastri and Norris start bumping into each other. Now, the last race, obviously, Piastri nearly clattered into Norris, which would have been really entertaining, I have to say. But it didn't happen. And so I think we will not see that. I don't see really that there's any particular issue between the two drivers. And I think they're both realise that they've got a lot to lose by bumping into each other. So I don't think we're going to see a rerun of like Verstappen and Hamilton, unfortunately, or any of the other sort of like high stakes clashes of two championship drivers over the last few years, which is a pity. And hopefully next season we'll see the whole grid sort of thrown up in the air a little bit, and then potentially we'll see more of that kind of action again. But it doesn't matter. It's still going to be an exciting season, I think, the rest of the season. And there's lots of other things going on behind the front two as well. I think quite too often people forget about anything other than what's going on with the front two drivers. But, of course, there's a lot of other action going on in the back of the grid and middle of the grid. And every point matters, particularly in terms of money for investment in the teams for the following year as well. So it's really important for all the constructors that they still go to the highest level, but they have to take a decision at some point as to whether to spend that money on developing a car that's maybe going to get them a few more points, or spending that time, effort, and money on developing the car for next year. So I think that's where it's going to go from here on in. What else for the weekend? Well, the weather, which is quite important. So it's thunderstorms there today in the Netherlands, apparently. The forecast of the weekend is mixed, so it looks like it's going to be a mixture of rain and cloud, about 22, 23 degrees. So track temperature will be quite cool, which will be interesting in terms of grip as well. But also rain. Now, the rain looks like, and obviously this can change, I don't know if you're aware, but Zandvoort is right on the northern coast of the Netherlands. So, and actually, if you ever get the chance to go up there, I really recommend it. It's full of bars and little beach clubs and things. The beach is spectacular. It's huge. On a nice sunny day, you couldn't be anywhere better, actually, apart from the fact that you're in Northern Europe, and you might think, what the hell am I doing here for a summer holiday? But and actually, interestingly, I was reading the other day that the northern coast of Europe is becoming more popular now as the temperatures in Europe, in Central Europe and Southern Europe, continue to increase each year. So I guess people don't really want to catch fire when they go on holiday in the summer, so they're starting to go further north. So the Netherlands is one of those places you would never think to go for a beach holiday in northern Germany or the Netherlands or Poland, but people do, and it's getting more popular. Anyway, I digress. So the track is right on the coast, so you're going to get, you get sea breeze, you get the wind coming off the sea. It's quite, it's quite an unusual track in that regard. But yeah, I think it looks like it's going to rain before the race on Sunday. It looks like it's going to be, again, a mixture of rain and cloud on the Saturday. It'd be fantastic if there's rain on the Sunday. Although, having seen what happened at Spa a few weeks ago, I wonder whether everyone would start complaining if there's a little bit of rain. So, they bring wet tyres. I wonder why sometimes. But hopefully there'll be a bit of damp track action as well, and that'll make it a bit more spicy. So fingers crossed for that. The other bit of news, it's not huge news, but it is important in terms of the race, is that the pit lane speed for this track has been increased. So normally it's 80 kilometers an hour on many tracks, with the exception of Monaco. For Zandvoort, it was also 60 kilometers an hour rather than 80 because the pit lane is so tight. But what they found, the organisers, is that tends to mean that most teams go for a one-stop strategy. Why? Well, because you're slower in the pits. If you're slower in the pits, then there's less advantage from changing tyres or whatever else you need to change in that pit window. Well, obviously tyres. I mean, if you have to change something else, there's probably a reason for that. But if you're changing tyres particularly, then there's always that question mark about whether you stay out, whether you run the tyres a bit longer. Do you do a couple of stops and you lose 20 seconds, but you gain more than the 20 seconds that you lose in the pits? Well, it seems to be the case that they've recognised that and they want to make the race a bit more exciting. I saw Fernando Alonso commented that he doesn't think it's an issue, because some people have been suggesting that maybe it's going to make it dangerous. I mean, these are all professional drivers, maybe with the exception of one or two. And so they should be able to cope with an extra 20 kilometres an hour. So what else? The only other thing is Ferrari. So Ferrari have said, or it's been talked about at least, that they're going to be optimizing their vehicle for balance and precision, adjusting suspension setup to suit the undulating track of Zandvoort. So it's got these high downforce corners. So let's see if that makes any difference. If I was a betting man, which I generally am not, I would suggest that it will make a little bit of difference, but Ferrari will still end up where Ferrari has been most of the season, which is 4th, 5th, sometimes 2nd or 3rd, but not 1st. So we'll see, but it should be an interesting race. I think it's nice to see another race back in Europe. It's not long now before it disappears off to the other side of the world. And this race is one of those that obviously will bring out all the Max Verstappen fans. So hopefully they have a bit more joy than they had in Spielberg a few weeks ago, where most of them who came looked pretty miserable after one lap when Verstappen got smashed into. I think he'll probably have a slightly better race this time around, so let's see. So anyway, listen, if you want me to post anything more on this race or on anything else, please just pop a comment in. I'll reply to you, and I'll definitely take a look at it. Please like and subscribe, tell your friends, and I might check in again for the race before or after. If I don't, I wish you a good weekend, and if I do, I'll speak to you later. All the best. Adios.